That's because there's so many things on there. I'm so excited about it, like a little kid when you open Christmas.
Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Counselor, Debbie Hamilton,
Here.
Michelle Sumner.
Here.
Lisa Woods.
Here.
Gary Daigle. And no Larry Whitaker and Sean Smalley.
And Grousman.
Joe.
Yeah, Grousman.
Joe Grousman.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad he's up and down.
Introduction of media. Anyone wishing to speak before the agency tonight on any subject matter will need to fill out a speaker form and turn it into the recorder. Forms are back on the table on the sign-in table. On the back of the room, please turn your cell phones off or silence them during the meeting. Good job, Erin. Announcement for Zoom attendees. If you're joining tonight's meeting via Zoom, you will automatically be muted upon entry and you'll need to identify yourself if your full name is not already attached to the device being used. You will be unable to unmute yourself. If you wish to speak, use the raise your hand feature to use it. Click on the reactions icon at the bottom of your screen and click on the image of a hand. Public comment. The purpose of public comment period is to allow citizens to present information or raise issues. A time limit of 3 minutes per citizen shall apply. All citizens must come to the microphone up here at the front. Okay, consent agenda. February 12th minutes, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve consent agenda for February 12th, 2024.
Second? Any
What? Mhm.
No questions? No
I'll take that as a no.
questions.
Vote.
Grousman.
Yay.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Sumner.
Yes.
Woods.
Aye.
Smalley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Agency business, public safety structural improvements.
Yeah.
Motion is second.
They're here.
Accept.
Mayor Council, Troy Mills, Police Chief, and Mike Lane, Fire Chief. The staff report you have in front of you, the Urban Renewal Agency is being asked to consider a minor amendment to the Urban Renewal District to include monies for public safety structural improvements to the Sutherland Police Department and the Sutherland Fire Department buildings. The options for that are to move forward with the Urban Renewal District minor amendment process or not move forward with the minor amendment process. Obviously, I'm recommending to move forward with the process. So with the staff report, do you have any questions of what we're doing?
Madam Chair, I'll just explain. Essentially, we have almost $5 million in a grant to upgrade. We need an additional 1.5 million to do the job right. There's some stuff on the admin side, as you know, that we need to upgrade with floor leaks, crack walls, and sustaining an all new roof. So this 1.5 million, generally you're allowed to use up to 15–20% of urban renewal monies for public investment. This is less than 1%. We're going to get 23 million in urban renewal monies. So 1.5 drop in the bucket. It's really important. It's going to be really nice.
If we have Sean Smoot with VCS Engineering and Architecture on Zoom here too, if there's any questions in relation to the construction, joining it into the seismic components as well.
Because that was what was done last Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what the process, everything's kind of starting now. As far as the grant's concerned, they were doing some core drilling, things like that to see if the foundation is gonna be adequate for the building itself. Turns out that it is, at least for our side. So essentially, it's using this grant to get the building where it needs to be seismically, but in the process is to expand the building a little bit to house the employees we have in there. That we have a lot of unusable space in there, can't use it, the whole back corner. So it's just getting really cramped in there in the workspaces. So that's why we're doing this work too.
I don't know if this is a place to ask a question, but has the department found a place that they're gonna be housed during the inspection?
Still up in the air, we're still.
We talked about last meeting also looking at possibly using some of the urban renewal monies to look at if it was possible to put a second story on this permit. Was that looked at?
We're still in talks with the engineers, and Sean is on there too. But we're kind of looking at every option to see what's feasible and what's not. We can't, make the Taj Mahal right now. But maybe down the road, we just maybe add a second story or, it all depends.
Any other questions, discussion? Motion. I would make a motion to direct staff to move forward with the urban renewal district minor amendment process.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Vote please.
Grossman,
Yay, I approve.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Sumner,
Aye.
Woods,
Aye.
Daigle. Smalley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, may I suggest we make a change to the agenda? I see Lucas is here already. Remove the Everett property proposal up to B. So he hasn't said, I have to sit here through all these other items that are more administrative in nature. I apologize. I should have noticed that and made that change. I just. If you guys are okay with that.
Good
I'm
idea.
good with
Good
it.
idea.
So, Lucas Main Construction, he has business partners, Richard Lundstrom, Alyssa Main, and Alicia.
Alyssa, me and Alicia, work on my staff, but Rich Mushroom is my partner.
And so, you guys have the proposal.
Yep, that's those.
So in July of 2022, we had moved forward with the purchase of the properties at Everett and South Calcoulia. And so in that, looking for a developer to develop them. And there was kind of a food truck idea and some ideas thrown around amongst the agency as well as the task force. And so
I don't know either.
Luke provided us a general layout. And so I'll let him describe that first.
So it's very simple at this point, we're open to any kind of discussion, but as you can see in the layout, we're proposing a 1,500 square foot-ish building on the east side of the property. That will have a pure cart inside. It's going to have old fashioned video games that are free for children and an axe throwing section in one corner as well. Then there'll be a very large covered patio just to the west of that building. That'll have many picnic tables in it. There's gonna be some grassy areas, some landscape areas. We've also, since we, at our last meeting, we thought about, I was at a small resort one time that had s'mores nights. So they had these fire pits around. So we proposed putting, 2 or 3 fire pits outside that covered area with more picnic tables for s'mores nights, gathering area. There will be one corner of the building inside and out for live music in the summer months. And then we have proposed 4 to 6 food carts down there on the south side of the property. And then speaking with Alex from IE, he was thinking we could do on-street parking, but really the lot's big enough. I think that parking lot there on the west makes a lot of sense, gets people off the parking street. So that's super simple. The building will be a a metal building with roll-up doors, so it's all open areas, both doors on 3 sides of it. And, just kind of a gathering place for the community.
Great. Like it. And just what we. That would go good.
And so at this stage, if the concept, ideas look good, we would ask that, you guys move to, allow staff to start working out the details of the agreement with them and that, you know, kind of discussing the dump fees, what that looks like, because they'll actually do the demolition of it. I think what's there, as well as, you know, the waiving of system development charges, kind of what the timeline looks like of deeding the land in the future after, you know, they've developed it, got it open and running, what some of those possibilities. So we would kind of take the reins and run with those agreement details with them and, but we need your approval to move forward. So it's exciting.
Or yes,
I'm on motion. First, actually. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I second it.
And now we'll have discussion.
Did you get the picture up?
And
So the labels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yes.
that's where like the food trucks. Like,
Yeah,
go.
food carts.
And how would that be managed in terms of like the business side of it, those food trucks coming in, would they be renting space, would that be revenue coming into the city? Or how would that work in terms of businesses being brought into the community?
So as of now, they will be renting space from us. We're gonna develop the entire property. This is not going to be a park your food truck and bring all your services with it. We will have underground services, water, sewer, actually gas as well. We'll have a large propane tank that feeds each one of these carts. So it's more of a permanent cart that they would be leasing the property from us essentially, because we're gonna become involved in the development. That's what the plan as of now. Again, we're open to all sorts of things.
Maybe I don't really understand then. So this property was purchased with city funds, is that correct?
No,
Urban renewal funds, but somebody else is developing it? And
So then the nature of the urban renewal is to get the properties improved and you usually partner with developments in order to kind of kickstart that. And then if the funding is not available, you find someone that would and you work out the agreements of how that ultimately, because you want it back in private ownership in order to generate the tax revenue. And so this is kind of that partnership that we're generating in order to get the property developed. They have an active business that moves forward and it then brings the business to the
so with
community.
those urban renewal funds, we funneled back into the urban renewal funds,
The,
through the purchase price, the purchase of the property.
we don't intend to. We intend to deed the property to them after 5 years of successful business operations. And in exchange for that, then what will come back is the increased revenue. You're taking a vacant piece of land that may pay $400 a year in taxes, now paying $4,000. The intent is that we raise valuations to the point that that works that way. That's how you use urban renewal monies to incentivize private investment. And if at the end of 5 years, he's not operating successfully, then we have clawback. Just totally takes the land back to the city and we start over again. But we don't anticipate with the class and the nature of this company that ever being an issue. Sure. No, he's fine.
Any other questions? Here was. Initial.
Do you have any interested, food truck vendors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but we haven't, we're the very early stages of this, like even our sketch is just very preliminary. But I mentioned it just in passing to food truck owners, and the fact that they can go somewhere and have all their services hooked up it's just huge. They're mind blowing. We're gonna fence it, protect them, watch security cameras up. It's gonna be a professional type organization. Most of the food trucks I've talked to, they bring their water in, they have to haul the wastewater out, they bring a generator for power. You know, this is gonna be a permanent setup for, and they'll come and go as far as, you know, the lease, they'll decide they don't want to lease something there, but the interest we have is very possible.
You'd be fencing just the food truck area or the whole,
I think we finish this to the parking lot.
the parking lot,
Yeah.
so open to the public?
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of, you know, I want your guys' advice on that. Should we fence the entire parking lot? I would feel that people driving vehicles in and out, that fence might be kind of cumbersome at that point. So if we look just at the edge of the parking lot, around all the landscape areas, obviously the metal buildings, the patios, that would all be fenced in.
Vote.
Grossman,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Sumner,
Aye.
Woods.
Aye.
Daigle,
Aye.
Smalley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we have a public hearing and resolution, urban renewal 2024.01 supplemental budget adjustment. Staff report.
Agency members, Tammy Trowbridge, City Finance Director. And basically is a public hearing for input on resolution UR 2024.01 for interested parties to speak regarding the proposed changes to the fiscal year 23-24 budget. After the hearing, the agency board is being asked to consider approving resolution UR 2024.01 to adopt the supplemental budget adjustment for the fiscal year as described herein. And this supplemental budget moves contingency funds to repay a portion of the line of credit that has been extended by the city of Sutherland. This repayment was discussed during the budget approval process, but because of the unknown factor of timing on the tax revenue receipts, it was not budgeted at that time. And I believed I had mentioned that we would probably be coming back if the receipts started coming in like we were hoping they would. And so that is basically what we're doing here tonight. As the options are to either adopt resolution UR 2024.01, the supplemental budget adjustment, or not to adopt that resolution. And of course, my suggested motion would be, after considering any public comment, that you would move that UR 2024.01 would be adopted as presented. Because this line of credit was designed to be a revolving line of credit. So this way we won't have to dip into those wastewater and water reserve funds that we had moved over just out of contingency. This way we'll just be able to use City of Sutherland General Fund funds as originally designed.
I now open the public hearing. Is there any public comment? None. I close the public hearing. On to resolution UR 2024.01 supplemental budget adjustment. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion, we adopt resolution UR 2024.01 supplemental budget adjustment.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion to approve resolution 2024.01 supplemental budget adjustment as presented. Discussion. Okay, vote.
Grossman,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Sumner.
Aye.
Woods. Daigle.
Aye.
Smalley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is grant application approval for Heavenly Hair and Nail Salon.
Yes. I know.
Oh, well, it's just.
That was my fault.
So with that, we received one of our downtown facade improvement, the grant application, for Heavenly Hair. And This one, we're still working with them on getting all of the conditions of our grant application met, but we wanted to push it through. There is some challenges with the insurance due to the existing facade. But also with the excitement of trying to bring it into that downtown. It's part of the block that has been really pushing hard, and the kind of the attached design was their thoughts, and instead of the lights, it would have an awning similar probably to the body shop. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal. And so they're requesting for this building. Actually, it's Summer McKnight, and she now owns the Flag Guy, the hair salon, and then there's another little business in there. So all three of them. So there'll be another application coming because all of it together would qualify for 2 grant application monies. And so this is just the one that they're ready to proceed. It's in design.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the grant application for the facade improvement for 117 B West Central Avenue in the amount of 45,000.
I'll second. Motion to approve Everett property proposal as presented. What, is that wrong down too? What did you do? This
I did a
this
copy,
today?
I did a copy and paste, and, yeah.
So they look like the other one.
So it should say to approve the grant application for Heavenly Hair and Nails.
So, any discussion? Okay. So, please.
Grousman,
I as amended.
Hamilton,
Aye, yes.
Sumner,
Aye.
Woods.
Aye.
Daigle.
Aye.
Smalley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I believe that's all we have for this evening. Thank
Good
you
meeting.
for-
Thank you, guys.
Meeting adjourned.
Mayor, I have 7 o'clock.
Is it already?
Mhm.
Wait, I gotta. Please stand for flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Counselor Daigle. Counselor Whitaker. Counselor Smalley.
Here.
Counselor Grousman. Counselor Grousman.
Like that, Joe.
We'll come back.
Here,
Counselor Hamilton.
Here.
Counselor Woods.
Here.
Get the mayor.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Sumner.
I'm here. Introduction of media. Any media present? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak before the city council tonight on any subject matter will need to fill out a speaker form and turn it into the recorder. Forms are available on the signing table in the back of the room. Please turn cell phones off or silence them during the meeting. Announcement for Zoom attendees. If you're joining tonight's meeting via Zoom, you will automatically be muted upon entry. You will be unable to unmute yourself. You will not be able to participate in public comments at this time. You can register to speak by contacting the city recorder's office no later than 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting and provide your name, phone number, address, email, and topic. Public comment. The purpose of this public comment period is to allow citizens to present information or raise issues regarding agenda items only. There will be time at the end of the meeting for citizens to speak about off-agenda items. A time limit of 3 minutes per citizen shall apply. All citizens must come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Let's start with Bob Muskowski.
Get that last.
Did I get it right?
Oh, yeah, you did fine. Usually I did answer the blog, that's usually.
Let's stop.
Okay, so what we're gonna talk about the proposals that we have. And I was just talking to some of my friends that seemed odd the last meeting. We started talking about it, brushed across it a little bit, and then Jerry said, well, there's no need talking about this because it hasn't happened yet, so. And then I did, 48 hours later, or probably less, next thing you know, we're finding out we got a grant for 2.85 million. And of course, we got the $650,000 and different project that we haven't found out about. And what I was told, there's a lot of people called down here and later, one, and other people didn't have any idea what they're gonna do with it. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of money in a project, two projects. One we know about, the other is in hiding somewhere. We need to be informed of what's going on. I mean, maybe when you have the executive meeting, that's when all the information comes out, so you guys know it, but nobody else seems to know it. And if you look at the social media that we have, I think it speaks for itself. And it just doesn't seem like a good way to go is to keep people uninformed when there's talking about a lot of money coming this way. And did we get the grants or did we not get the grant? Is it 10 acres or is it 3 point some odd acres missing? It's like, come on, you people got to let us know what's going on. And I think we'd be a lot happier. I had one other comment about, I phoned in the police department, it was at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I heard a big commotion out front of my house on Hawthorne Street. We had one of our village people coming down the street with a bicycle with a couple bags of stuff, screaming about every dirty word you can imagine, hoping somebody would die, they would kill somebody. And anyway, I phoned the police department, turned it in. My wife said she saw a police officer drive by. It's about 4:30 this evening. But he was carrying on. There's kids out there shooting hoops. Kids playing in the street. You got something like that coming down our street. Supposed to be managed. You guys said we're going to take care of that. They're still coming down Hawthorne Street. I find it disturbing. Anyway, that's all I got.
Tim? Kulla something. Thank you.
Awesome. So my husband just showed me this workforce thing or housing.
Workforce
thing,
housing project.
that one up there on the board. And it's gonna be like right across from our house. Like immediately, we're on Oak Street. Like halfway across. And the housing part, I'm like really excited about it. It's actually pretty cool. We need more housing. We really do. I'm just a little concerned because Oak Street is pretty narrow. And like if there's a bus coming down, you kind of pull off to the side a little bit so there's room to come down. And I'm not sure because it looks like the entryway to it's got to be on Oak Street. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to widen that road or what they're going to do as far as traffic goes, because that's a lot of houses in there. And if you think 1 to 2 cars per house per family, what they're going to do as far as traffic goes. And also down at the main road, you're going to have a lot of traffic coming onto the main road. That's going to need to merge on, and it's during main traffic times, it's already pretty hard to get out onto the road coming into downtown. The other way is not so bad, but into downtown,
is kind of hard. So, you might need to put in like a stoplight there or something. Just a couple things to think about. I mean, as far as the housing project itself, that's pretty damn. We definitely need something else because it's definitely hard to find something in this area. And we need it. But, yeah, just living in this area, those are two things to think about as far as the road.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Harry Cullen?
Would be her husband.
Like my wife, I'm excited about this project. I was surprised that when we moved in, that this amount of property was vacant and hadn't been developed, and I was amazed that it took this long for somebody to, pull the trigger on developing this good spot in the middle. I mean, I know workforce housing projects like this are some of the new stage of urban development. There's been a lot of talk about just when you're putting in housing in an area, designing a community for it. And I know this is 3 years out, and I mean, even the sketch here, they say that this may not be how it turns out. This is obviously just a preliminary idea that's been made. I am slightly disturbed by the fact that I completely knew about this because I had a neighbor who came by and showed me the plan. I mean, I know that we should be socially media aware, but I know a lot of us as homeowners in this neighborhood were never informed of this. Some notification by the city of this project, especially because it's being managed and run by the city, would have been, or however it's being done, would have been nice, because this is something that's going to majorly impact, both our neighborhood and our property values. So a little better communication on that when maybe going forward would be. But I mean, I have the same concerns as my wife. I mean, traffic on that road is already a challenge, and it is routinely. It's not one of the roads that gets really developed. It's like Hawthorne or Central or a lot of other roads see a lot more improvement and maintenance than Oak does. And if this is going to go through, that is going to change dramatically. And I know that workforce housing projects in other areas have proven to be sources of lowering of property values and increased crime. And I know that in a lot of the workforce housing projects in Roseburg, there's a significant increase in crime in the areas where they're done. But I've also seen projects like this done in smaller communities that have been very successful. So my hope is that we, along with transparency, we see steps going forward to ensure that this is, watched, however this is going to be maintained. I'm interested to see how it's going forward, but I hope with the concern for the community and the homeowners, and the people in it, will make this very welcoming or something that, may not work that well. But I think we can do it. Like my wife, I'm very optimistic.
Thank you very much. Karen Meyer.
Karen Meyer, Sutherland. My question is, where does the 10 acres come from? Because there's only 6.26 acres in this plot of ground. So I'd like that addressed when you talk about the grant. The other thing is, when you talk about grants, the city has, they always say, well, it's not going to cost the citizens of Sutherland anything. Like the money grows on a grant tree. That's not true. You pay state taxes and you pay federal taxes. You're going to pay for this project one way or the other. The other thing, another thing to think about is our city is managing our homeless camp. Go look at it. It's a disaster. If they manage this as well, it's going to be a disaster in your area. So I've run out of things to say. My goodness. Let's go.
Thank you. Let's Russell.
bear with me, I'm not much of a public speaker. I'm newer to Sutherland. I actually bought the home at the very top of Oak Street, the townhouse right there. And I've got some major concerns about that much building going on. When I first moved in, I was told that area was a wetland. It's swampy, even if it just rains for a little bit. And right now, my front yard, I can't even walk in the grass because of the water runoff from the hill. If you develop that big of an area like that, what's that gonna do to my foundation? What's that gonna do to my neighbors? Like, are we gonna slide down off the hill eventually? Another thing that I'm concerned about is we were told that it wasn't gonna be a homeless area, but then right here it says workforce housing and homelessness grants. That was the whole reason I moved to Sutherland, to get my child away from that type of environment. And if something like this goes in and it is for actual lower income and people aren't managing it like people have already said, how is that gonna be safe for me to be able to leave my daughter home alone? Like, the home I moved from Roseburg before buying this house in Sutherland, someone tried to break into my house. And like I said, the whole reason I moved to Sutherland, my family away from that. Also, the entrance, Oak Street, on the little diagram, it does show that there's an entrance there. With that many homes, isn't there supposed to be another entrance somewhere? Is it just gonna be Oak Street that you can go in and out of? Because like a few other people said, that road is already busy. My neighbor has younger children than I do, and it's already unsafe for the kids to be playing close to the road. If you have that many more cars and traffic on that one road, it's not gonna be safe for the kids. That was all I had right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tim Etter?
So I have a lot to say in 3 minutes, so I'm just gonna get it all out, and I hope that the next meeting it's all addressed. But you guys invited me to be on this task force to help see how this goes. 30 days has passed, so you can imagine how my imagination's running wild with me. I'm the good neighbor that came around and told all of our local neighbors. Still, you guys have not sent out any notification to any of us telling us what you're planning. We have a right to know that. This is our property values. We work hard for what we have. We pay our taxes. We keep our properties nice, and that's the way we want to keep it. If you're gonna open this up to low income, I understand there's a need for low income, but you take somewhere like Sunshine Park Apartments, that's low income, there is nobody there managing it. How are you going to guarantee us that the crime rate and the drugs, etc., is not just going to get worse? You're planning on putting a park and a playground right on the other side of my back fence, which is also proposed to be hidden behind those townhouses. What's gonna happen with that? It's just gonna become another drug infested, needle infested park. You know, the 6th Street, I want it vacated. I want that road vacated. What you guys are planning to do down there, if you make that another entrance to this place, you're just ruining it for us on 6th Street and Oak. You're just ruining it. I want to know how did you get to be able to build on the wetlands? What process have you gone through? If I as a homeowner wanted to build down there, I couldn't. I hear Danny Knight tried to build down there years ago and couldn't. So what makes it okay for the city to purchase this property and build on it? I don't feel like it's the city's, it shouldn't be the city's priority to get into housing. The city's job is to make sure our streets and our sidewalks are done. You should not be involved in housing. You just shouldn't. It's our taxpayer dollars that are paying for this. You should not be involved in that. Again, the erosion, if you build there, you have to dig all of that out from my understanding because of the wetlands, and you have to backfill it. Well, when you pull all that out of there, excuse me, again, what's happening to our houses? We're gonna slide down the hill. That used to be an old log pond, from what I understand. That log pond was filled from the water coming off of the hill. So how are you gonna redirect that water and keep that from becoming just a swampy mess down there? If you guys manage this, just as Karen said, if you guys manage this, it's just gonna become another, sorry, mess like Hastings Village. I just don't understand how you're going to guarantee that it's going to be kept clean, drug-free, and people are going to care about their property. I also want to know who's profiting from the sale of this. Who profits from it? I know I don't. I know my property value is probably going to go down.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm sorry again to be frustrated, but
No problem.
there's no transparency with you guys. There's none. You're keeping us in the dark.
We'll be addressing.
You should have sent out notification long before you had the blueprint.
On to presentations, Saving Grace Pet Adoption Center.
I have one in the car. I feel like I might need to bring it in. I need to bring in a dog. Hi. Hi, my name is Megan Graham. I am the former executive director of Saving Grace Pet Adoption Center. Now am on the committee for trap, neuter, return and our community cat program. So I'm here to talk to you about cats. I'm sorry, it sounds like you guys have some other really pressing issues going on as well. So I will keep this short. Really just want to give you guys a kind of a quick overview of what Saving Grace has got going on in terms of controlling the outdoor cat population throughout Douglas County, including here in Sutherland. We have been able to recently bring back our community cat program, which enables members of the public to, well, actually right now what we're having is teams of what we call cat trappers are going out and trapping community cats in specific targeted areas throughout Douglas County in an effort to humanely control the population. And we are going to be potentially, I believe, working in Sutherland in the near future. So I know probably a lot of people aren't familiar with what's referred to as TNR or trap, neuter, return. I'll give a brief overview. Trap, neuter, return is a humane method of population control for outdoor cats. How many of you have outdoor cats? Anybody have outdoor cat issues going on? Okay, great. That's not too many. Yeah, okay. So it is a method by which people who are trained bring humane live traps to an area where they know that there's a group of cats living. They set those traps with the intention of bringing those cats into a spay neuter clinic to have them spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and then have their their right ear, a portion of the right ear taken off just at the very tip. And that is the indication that that cat has been spayed or neutered. So just for a little fun fact for y'all, in case you're wondering, if you see a cat that has a little tip off the top of the ear, that means that someone is actually caring for that cat. Someone's probably looking out for it, feeding it, and has taken it into the vet to be spayed and neutered. So there is a huge population of outdoor cats throughout Douglas County, especially in the Roseburg area. I'm sure there is here in Sutherland as well. As far as the reasons why Saving Grace is doing this, we obviously want to reduce the number of cats coming into the shelter. A lot of those cats that do come into the shelter are born in the outdoors as part of these feral community cat colonies. Sutherland is actually number 3 in terms of the number of cats being brought in to Saving Grace in Douglas County. And currently there is no contract with the city of Sutherland in terms of paying for anything in relation to bringing stray animals in. So what we're hoping is that as we're starting to bring these clinics back, we're offering these community cat clinics at Saving Grace, using our volunteers to come out and trap cats in various, like I said, various areas throughout Douglas County. And then we're going ahead and getting them fixed, vaccinated, and then taking them back to where they came from. So that is the catch. It's trap, neuter, return. And when you do return the cats back to where they came from, they generally will keep other cats out. And also the population will eventually stabilize and then begin to decline. So that's our goal, is to reduce the number of cats coming into Saving Grace by using this humane population control method that's called TNR, trap, neuter, return.
Obviously, it's not free. We have a veterinary clinic within Saving Grace that provides this service. We have a veterinary, we're super lucky that we have a really amazing veterinarian who's able to do up to 50 spay neuter surgeries in a day. The cost is about $1,500 per clinic, so we're doing them for about $30 per cat, which is actually very inexpensive. That includes our overhead, includes the cost for materials to spay neuter and the vaccinations. So not only are these clinics beneficial for the cats in terms of providing humane population control, they're also really important for public health. So it is something that usually municipal cities, counties are interested in some degree, at least if nothing else for the public health aspect of it, because these cats are all getting rabies vaccinated. And then also the populations of cats are being reduced in areas where they could potentially spread disease to humans. So what we're looking to you guys for is just to consider potentially helping us to fund some of these clinics. Like I said, they're about $1,500 per clinic, and we're doing about 2 clinics a month at this time. I can get more information about when and where we might be trapping cats in Sutherland. I failed to bring that with me tonight, but I do know that our trappers have been in communication with some residents in the area who have issues with community cats that they want to get the population under control. So that being said, just wanted to give everybody kind of a brief overview of what Saving Grace is doing to reduce the population of outdoor cats, and let you guys know that we are going to be working in Sutherland. And then I know budget time is probably coming up if you guys are out of fiscal year as well. So I can put you in touch with our new executive director, and she can give you more information if you guys, have any room in the budget or want to add us as a line item. We would be happy to consider accepting any funds that you have, and also continuing to work in Sutherland to help reduce the population of outdoor cats in a humane way.
Thank you.
Questions? Good.
I leave my name and number with you because myself and my walking partners, we're working with some cats that have been left out on the walking path.
Yeah.
We have some little kittens.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, but the
Maybe
boys,
they're already fixed.
and the females have been fixed, the boys were about a couple, 3 ago. But we'd rather you not come and track them out.
Yeah.
We'll come and pick them up.
We'll be in touch with our trappers. Yeah, that would be good. That's great. Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. On to consent agenda, minutes from March 11th, 2024, regular meeting.
Mayor, it's all done in a motion together.
Okay. Liquor application recommendation approval for Solos, Taqueria, and Mariscos. Do I have a motion? No, it's together.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Have a second? Have a motion and a second for the liquor application recommendation and the minutes for March 11th. Any discussion?
Well, didn't we have a last time, somebody should have a liquor application that we have to copy of it?
We have,
It's in your packet.
Is it?
Mhm.
Yes. Please send no information that was reviewed as this fall.
I had a hard time opening it.
It's on the website.
I couldn't open it on there either, by the way.
Oh.
You gotta call me.
I'm gonna call you.
Any discussion? All right.
There's already been a restaurant there before.
Well, it just changes the liquor license.
All proper steps.
Yes. Go ahead and go.
Counselor Daigle.
Aye.
Counselor Smalley.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton. Counselor Woods.
No.
Mayor Sumner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under council business, public hearing and resolution 2024.09 supplemental budget adjustment. Staff report.
Mayor, councilors, Tammy Trowbridge, Finance Director. And this is a public hearing for resolution 2024.09 for interested parties to speak regarding the proposed changes to the fiscal year 23-24 budget. After the hearing, council is being asked to consider approving resolution 2024.09 to adopt the supplemental budget adjustment for fiscal year 2023-24 as described herein. And at the time that the budget was prepared, there was no indication from Business Oregon that there would be an opportunity to begin interest payments on the non-Pearl water plant upgrade loan prior to the, construction being final. And it is completely dwindling down, but the loan is just kind of hanging out there until that's closed. And at the first of the year, our loan specialist with Business Oregon reached out to us, letting us know that this option was available. And so an adjustment to the budget is needed to be able to make this payment. There's plenty of money in the water debt service fund to do so, just transferring from contingency up to this line item. And so after the public hearing, your options are to either adopt the resolution 24-09 or not to adopt. And my recommendation is that after considering any public comment, that you move that the resolution 2024.09 supplemental budget adjustment be adopted as presented.
At this time, I'm opening the public hearing and asking if there's any public comment. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. And in reference to resolution 2024.09 supplemental budget adjustment, do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve resolution 2024.09. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote.
Counselor Daigle. Counselor Smalley.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton.
Aye.
Counselor Woods.
Aye.
Mayor Sumner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to ordinance 1096, amendment SMC chapter 2.05.050, public the city council meetings. Second reading and adoption. Melanie, can you please read ordinance by title only?
An ordinance of the City of Sutherland amending Chapter 2.05.050 of the Sutherland Municipal Code related to public comment at City Council meetings.
Staff report. Chad.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chad Jacobs from the City Attorney's Office. This is just the second reading of the ordinance you approved at your last meeting last month, which would amend the council rules to address public comment issues to conform them both to changes in state law related to remote access to public meetings, as well as to codify current practices related to public comment. Happy to take any questions that you might have, but again, this is just the second reading of the ordinance you approved at your last meeting.
And I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1096, amending SMC chapter 0.05-0.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second for chapter 2.05.050. Any discussion? Vote.
Counselor Daigle.
Aye.
Counselor Smalley.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton.
Aye.
Counselor Woods.
Aye.
Mayor Sumner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to budget committee appointment, staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Melanie Masterfield, City Recorder. Tonight we have one council vacancy on the Budget Committee. We have Brian Biss, who is here to speak on his behalf. The term will end December 31st, 2025.
Brian, would you like to come up and say a few words to introduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Brian Biss. I commute to work every day. I like to stay informed of government affairs. And I've listened to all of you over the last year in my drive to work. So it's nice to see faces with voices that I've been hearing. I have a little bit of experience volunteering in the past. I want to share that with you. Kind of starting back formally, I do have a degree in business administration. I have worked over my career. Most of my positions have been in banking, accounting, finance. I've also spent a lot of time working on nonprofit boards, done a lot of loan applications in my work, making out loans, very familiar with funds movements, a lot of the things that go into the budget. In preparation for this volunteering for this position, as I mentioned, I've listened to last year's meetings, listened to your budget process last year, read your last year's budget. So I feel like I have made myself aware of the issues. Also, my volunteering background. I've volunteered since I've been an adult as a blood donor. Donated over 10 gallons of blood in my time. You had a blood donation with the police and fire departments recently. I also volunteered at Mildred Knight Park doing trail maintenance. I volunteered recently with Umpqua United Soccer League as a soccer coach. Also volunteered my children's, they're all grown now, but all of their soccer teams. I coached over 40 teams of soccer in my time. I've refereed over 1,000 soccer games. I was on Children's All Volunteer Soccer League board for over 10 years, where we managed 3,000 children playing soccer in all volunteer systems. So I'm familiar with how to find volunteers and recruit them and get them to stay. And one lesson I always learned is the first job of a volunteer is find your replacement. Also, I've volunteered with the Forest Service doing trail maintenance reporting. And I look forward to this opportunity.
That's the finest presentation we've ever heard from somebody applying to be on the budget committee.
Any questions?
I have one. I'm just curious, you've listened to us for over a year, but yet you're only a resident for 1 month.
Yes, I drive to work every day and listen to one meeting each day for work. So,
Why did you do that if you don't live here? I'm just curious.
no, I've lived here for a month. Prior to living here in Sutherland, I lived in the county area, so I listened to the county meetings. I appreciate that you also have a portion of your meeting where you can talk about on-topic items, and at the end of the meeting, off-topic items, where the county doesn't do that. So.
So over the last month, he's listened to all.
Every
Well,
company-
said the last
year's
year,
worth of meetings.
Like year's
Yes.
worth of meetings.
You have one meeting a month. They're on YouTube.
The last year you've listened.
So you go on YouTube, you listen to the meeting while you're driving the car, and I can listen to the audio of the meeting. So I appreciate when everyone speaks into the microphone, that it's possible for others.
Just, yeah, right. We've been practicing that. Any other questions? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a motion.
I make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to appoint Brian Biss to the budget committee. Any discussion other than what we got? Vote.
Counselor Daigle. Counselor Smalley.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton.
No.
Counselor Woods.
Aye.
Mayor Sumner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under public hearing, method of procurement of CM/GHC services and findings of fact approval. This time I'd open public hearing and ask if any members of the council wish to disclose any conflicts of interest, ex parte contact, or personal bias. Dina, did you read this part? Move on to staff report.
So, Mayor, Council, Christie Gilbert with Community Development. So this is a procurement of contracting services for our seismic rehabilitation. Right now, we are in the design phase, and so what this procurement will do is bring on a contractor through this design phase. And so, in a nutshell, and in my layman's terms, it's one of those that we typically do a design bid build. So we go out to bid for the contracts with a contractor. This way, we want to actually bring in a contractor for the design portion. And so it's outside of our normal protocol and statutory requirements. So we have to file for this exemption in order to utilize this procurement process. And so it requires some public hearing, taking any public comment, and then adopting the findings that were attached to the staff report. That those findings identify all of those statutory requirements that have to be met in order to, and so pretty much not showing favoritism, not having any bias towards the selection, and so on and so forth. So it's specific to the design phase. And we have Sean Smoot with ZCS Engineering, who is the lead on this, and so if you have any questions, he's here to help me answer them. Unless you wanted to say something, Sean, you're welcome to do that as well.
Okay, do we have any testimony in favor of this? Any neutral or any testimony in opposition? Any neutral parties who wish to speak? Any additional staff comments? Council questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I will close public hearing. And move on to approval findings of fact. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve findings of fact for the procurement of method of CM/GC services for the project for the city for Sutherland Fire Station number 1, Sutherland Police Department. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote.
Counselor Daigle.
Aye.
Counselor Smalley.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton.
Aye.
Counselor Woods.
Aye.
Mayor Sumner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under reports, workforce housing and homelessness grants discussion.
Mayor, Councilor Pat Lynch, Livability Services Director. First, let me point out that those are two different things. There is a workforce housing grant and there was a grant associated with homelessness. So
Do you think you could stand up there? Because not everybody in the room can hear you.
I haven't been standing up for an hour, but let me try. So these are two different grants or two different projects. Let me back up about 19 months. We were in discussion with our senators and submitted a request for funding for the largest unfunded mandate in Oregon history by the Ninth Circuit when they determined that cities and counties had an obligation to manage homeless populations in a certain way, but didn't provide any funding. So we submitted an application through Wyden's office. That was 18 months ago, and we were told that it would probably be 2 years before any of this money would be distributed. It still has not been distributed. It did pass Congress. It was signed by the president, and we have no idea at this point exactly when that grant will come through. It was to help fund our homeless project. Originally, you'll remember, I'm sure, because it was quite a discussion. Originally, we were looking at purchasing a property on Hawthorne and providing some homeless services over there. After much discussion and public hearings, the decision was made to look elsewhere. So we don't know when that funding is forthcoming. We have seen no writings associated with it. It's for $650,000. And we don't know what the restrictions are on that grant or what agency the money flows through. So right now, we're just waiting to hear from the senator's offices when that is forthcoming. The second grant that is sometimes confused with that and has nothing to do with our homeless project is for housing. And this was kind of something that happened rather in a hurry, both in terms of the application for the funding, which went through the short session. And we submitted information and a request for funding based on a concept, and knowing from engineering reports that were recent, approximately what it would cost to take a piece of ground that was developable and put the infrastructure in it that would allow construction. We submitted that not knowing what would happen. We were pleased to see that we were finally included in Senate Bill 1530. That has now been sitting on the governor's desk for more than a month. We were one of 44 cities and counties that were included in that bill for funding. I just heard today there was an article that the governor is asking for line item veto power in that bill, and has 9 or 10 different projects that she wants to put an X through. Fortunately, that got my attention, so I actually read the whole article. We're not on the hit list. So if this goes through and she signs this bill, it will be without a shoe factory for Portland and several other projects that she didn't think fit with housing. We were required to submit a great deal of information to the governor's office to support what we'd like to do here in terms of our housing project. And we were told that this looked like it was very much in line with 1530 and what the governor wants to do, which is add housing across the state. So we were pleased to see that we were included in that bill. At this point, as we've talked and it's been mentioned earlier, the picture's great, but again, it's just a concept. The city's in the process of looking at a piece of land that we do not own yet. We don't know all of the surrounding details of it yet. We're waiting for reports, and we're hoping that this will go through. But this is very preliminary. The wonderful thing about this grant is that it makes it possible, in all likelihood, for builders to come in to a piece of ground like this where the ground is secure, the infrastructure is in place. Then it makes it possible to put buildings in place that people can inhabit, that they can afford. And I think we talked about it at the last meeting. HUD says that our occupancy rate for rental in Sutherland is 100%. We have no vacancy. Those that have looked for housing can attest to that. So this is the exact place in Sutherland where we need more housing availability, and we hope this goes through. But I hope that clarifies these are 2 different grants. One started almost 2 years ago. The other one started this year and came through that second session very quickly. And I can't say it was a shock because we've been in discussion with our state representatives and senators for a couple of years now. And this just happened, and our project happened to meet exactly what the governor was looking for and what our representatives are supporting. So I hope that clarifies the landscape of the grants. We don't have either of them yet. We hope to get them both. We need both, we need help in both of those areas. So any questions I can try to answer?
Pat, would you explain please the group that we have that's coming together? Explain that to people.
The task force that
Yeah.
you authorized, right? We've got a group of folks that
I
are,
want them to see that it's two different things.
well, that group, unlike the grants, the task force will look at both sides of that. We'll look at the situation of homelessness
But
here.
they're not one for homeless.
Pardon me?
It's not for homeless on Oak Street,
The task force?
but not that they're looking at. They have it confused that Oak Street thing is for the homeless or.
Well, there seems to be some odd interest in putting everything in that camp that we've talked about that has anything to do with housing anyone. The Oak Street concept is absolutely not a homeless camp. It's not housing necessarily for anybody that is or ever has been homeless, because it's going to have to follow a number of different strictures that are set out by the state and the federal government, because they're cooperating in this too. So there's a lot more we don't know than we do know right now about that. What we do know is that we have a grant that will make this possible. And I think we need to be constructive in moving forward and put all our best ideas together. I know we're hearing tonight some frustration that the task force hasn't met or doesn't have a meeting schedule yet. Well, I think we're finally going to get to the place where we've got the information to work with, where they can do something constructive, except just sit around and say, gee, this would be great. We want something constructive coming to these meetings. We don't want to waste people's time. So as far as I know, we're not excluding anybody. Other questions?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions was, like the article in the newspaper that said we received a grant to buy this property, and I think that was, just to clarify, that was from old information from when we originally applied for the grant, that was for that previous property.
That's 2 years old.
If I could also clarify, I think this is important to recognize. The original model we did included a 501c3 Umpqua Heart. And the intent is that we would facilitate the hopeful success of the camp itself. But at some point, Umpqua Heart would come in and move forward with the housing component. Now that Umpqua Heart's not here, we're not getting in the housing component. We're not going to participate in constructing any homes for the homeless people in the camp. Now, what we may do is pass through monies to an independent 501c3 or an existing organization that could and would possibly provide alternative housing somewhere in Douglas County, but we're not going to be in that business of doing it. So our goal is to take some of those monies, stabilize the camp, and been remarkable what Dana has done, and just kind of be in the business of sustaining that. We're not getting in any other venue. This is exactly what this community needs in terms of workforce housing. When you talk to employers, they can't find employees that will come here because they can't afford the rent or there's no place to rent. So what we're looking at doing is using tax grants and revenues to buy down the cost of that development, so somebody coming here could afford to buy a home on this site. But it is going to be a workforce housing community that has CC&Rs, be a planned unit development. It's going to have requirements for maintenance and upkeep, and it's not going to be targeted for homeless people.
So can you explain a little bit of the process of the work group that will be meeting? As part of their duties, will that be to help notify the surrounding neighborhoods on what's going on?
It may be even more than that. There's two groups. There's what we call the I sector group, and they are made up of the CEOs, companies who might invest, might help us pay to make this project work. Those employers who say we need workforce housing in this arena and move large policy. The Workforce and Homelessness Task Force is a local citizen advisory group to give us their ideas and instruction on how we ought to implement anything we do in that area, up to and including going door to door, bringing, we've added Kim Eder, is that your name? Eder to the Homelessness Task Force, and we'll eventually be meeting, but as Pat said, we haven't had that. We haven't had enough information to bring everybody through. Everything else has just been conceptual to bring people on board and say, gee, that looks like a good idea, but we'll do it together. I told the larger group last week, I said, we want to do this with the community, not to them.
Any other questions? Eric?
Did you address the difference in the 10 acres and the 6.26 acres of the Elk Street project?
Did I address that? No, I did not.
I can't. When we originally looked at the Knight property, the whole property was like 10 to 13 acres. And so that's what we've been going with. We realized after the fact that the Knights don't own the entire site. And so it's just constrained to the Knight family. Other property owners own some of the peripheral lands. And at the time when we were kind of making that announcement, we didn't know that.
But this particular picture that ended up in the news review is 6.26 acres.
Yeah, well, it's a little larger than that.
7.88.
Yeah. So,
And it's just been an identified site. There's not been any behind the scenes purchases or any of that. So it's just a site to give us a concept development at this time. So there will be proper notifications sent out.
So it's not in escrow at this point?
No.
The article in the paper said it was in escrow.
They're wrong.
I don't have the information. We do not have it in
It
our.
quoted Pat Lynch as saying it was in escrow.
It was in the paper. It must have been true. Or on the internet.
Yeah.
Just like, well, that's just too.
They get things wrong a lot.
Well, what we have is a concept. When we get to the place where we're talking about specifics, they'll be available. We're working on it.
What made you choose that spot, just out of curiosity? Steve? You have a railroad crossing up by the mill. You have a railroad crossing down on Sixth. Those trains are required by law to blow that blasted horn as they come through there. When you live that close to the tracks, the nighttime just becomes a real bugger. Yeah, we've already got a duplex down there, we've already got a couple down there, we've already got them down there right now, anyway. I know, but still, they're a whole lot closer.
When it comes down to it, the amount of buildable ground is minimal. And when it comes to people having housing and hearing a train or not having housing, they'll take the train.
Okay, you get used to it after a while. It's
Mayor.
like you.
Mayor, we need to, like, they need to come to the microphone. to speak.
Okay, okay. And
well, we chose that site because it's ideal for stimulating the economy, not only in the community, but in downtown. The one thing that we've learned about through the Main Street program, as we began our process at making these improvements in downtown, you're already starting to see it. Backside Brewery, food court village, new restaurants, new modeling. That having a walkable community where people can live and come downtown and spend money is a wonderful economic contributor to downtown. And it has strong viability.
yeah, we need people to come up here if you have something, so it's not on the recording. Sorry about that.
So if they do something like this, are they gonna put in another actual, railing cross guard at that other one on Sixth? Because there is gonna be more traffic through there and there's no cross guard at that one down there, which is one of the reasons that they blow the horn so loud down there.
My understanding is it does not meet the
certifications for that process.
All right, just wondering.
On to city, sorry.
So,
Welcome to my
my
world.
understanding is that there was a group of men with some engineering plans down there in that wetlands on Friday. Is that right?
That's part of the level 1 environmental analysis required. That's why it's not in escrow. We're still working through the environmental investigation.
So when were those plans drawn up?
They aren't plans. They're just doing analysis of the site, looking at the footprint. Part of there's 3 levels of level 1, level 2, and level 3. They're finishing level 1, going to level 2. And that's going to be the determining factor on whether or not we want to buy the land or not. If there's contaminants in the ground or whatever, they're just following the map.
And when do you believe that you'll have an answer on whether you're able to build there?
We don't know. The Knights are in control of that. That's part of the agreement that they would execute environmental and present to us an environmentally clean piece of property before we proceed.
And as far as these units and the number of units that you're proposing, you keep going back to this, it's within walking distance of downtown, there are jobs there. Well, there's not jobs there right now. And there's not enough room right downtown to sustain all those jobs. So what's gonna happen, what I see with these, if you do this, you're going to have people from Roseburg that are still moving here to purchase these homes and to live in these homes. And they're still gonna travel to Roseburg to work. So it's counterproductive. You've just taken that away.
Well, the Main Street program says that the best means of sustaining a downtown is to develop a customer base that is during the day where people come in and work, shop, do it. But in the evening, those people that are living in the area then come down and they spend the money. So you extend the shopping environment and experience and the ability to make more money over a longer period of time. And so the intent is, whether they go to Roseburg or not, is that when they come home in the evening, they say, hey, let's go to Backside and have dinner, or let's go over and do one of the food carts, or let's go to whatever, and hopefully more new and exciting things happen in downtown as we move forward.
And to add
And
to
they create a
that,
customer base that in essence creates the demand and need for more jobs in downtown.
and so to add to what you said about you're hoping that these people, this community of people will start adding money to the downtown. You're talking about low income housing. My husband and I, we're not low income, but we bust our butts to make our mortgage payment. And we still have to pick and choose about what our outside activities are, what our entertainment.
This is not low income housing.
But that's what you told us
No,
in the other meeting.
We
is that
said the
some of
broad
it-
spectrum of people. Some people will be on the lower echelon of income, some will be on the higher. But it's a community, a neighborhood that has a diversity of people and income. It's not singularly a low income community. Never is intended to be.
Some of those will be low income.
Some will be lower income, but they still have to work. The intent is they can live and work here.
Okay. And
So if
I'm
you are
not trying
manager
to
of
be
McDonald's, you don't
argumentative,
make
I
a whole
just-
lot of money and you can't afford the rents to live here, we could provide that available to you. So you can work full-time, make a living, and have a quality of life equal to everybody else in the community.
Okay, and again, I apologize, I'm not trying to be argumentative.
Yeah, why
but
don't we save this for when we have a committee meeting and just identify your questions? That would be helpful.
How is that transparent
It doesn't
to
help us,
everybody else?
And then we know nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's just in your
That's the
committee.
purpose of having the committee. You're welcome to come to the committee meeting if you want.
Well, I asked if I could have my husband on the task force and I was told, no, there was no room.
We have a full task force, doesn't mean you still can't come and sit, participate, and
Well,
listen.
nobody said that. So again, there's no transparency. There's no guideline. There, you can shake your head and roll your eyes all you want, but I live at ground zero here. So does Alyssa. So does another neighbor of mine that wasn't able to make it. So you have to understand, when you throw this at the community and you don't bother telling us anything about it, and we get wind of these plans and you say it's a proposal, but you're moving forward, you're obviously a lot further along than what we thought you were, and you're not being transparent. So that's where you get the aggravation and the anger and the frustration from the community. I would have thought by the time this meeting rolled around, that all of my neighbors would have been sent notices on this and said, hey, we're proposing this. Come to this meeting, let's talk about it. But there isn't any of that. You guys are doing what you want to do. And then you're creating this task force in the, like, behind the scenes, and nobody else is involved. And so it is frustrating. We're the taxpayers. We're the ones working hard for our property. I don't want to see my property value go down. So I apologize if you feel like I'm attacking you, but we feel like you're going behind the scenes and undermining it, like just sweeping it under the rug. We just won't tell them, and we'll do it, and we'll tell them when it started. You know,
We've
it
actually
kind of,
discussed this the last two meetings, and we've actually talked about and had members for this task force, so we haven't been sweeping it under the rug or hiding.
but where's the public notification on that, other than on your calendar?
We don't have anything to notify yet. There's no property built. There's nothing's happened yet.
So you wouldn't notify the community and say, look, this is what we're thinking of doing. And let's talk about it as a community. And there isn't any of that. So now we do this, and of course, we're all frustrated. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I apologize. That's not my intent to be argumentative. It's not. It's hard to be a taxpayer and see this and feel like everything you've worked for has gone downhill. I have a friend, Sunshine Park Apartments, had a house over there. They started building those apartments. These people moved, tried to sell their house while those apartments were being built, could not sell their house, that got foreclosed on. So here they worked their whole lives for this house, and then they couldn't even sell it. You know, we're in the same boat. Where are we gonna go? Thank you.
Market value, that's what they said in the article. You got single family dwellings, you're gonna put up so many of them, I can't remember how many I counted. But they're gonna, who's gonna buy these houses? We're gonna go for market value. So Kim, I'll have you know, when they were taking or wanting to take the Hawthorne section, I asked them about the property value, and I was told at most, you'd only lose 15%. Well, let's get your calculator out and look at what a $300,000 home is, and what 15% of that is. So you're liable to lose $40,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have that kind of pocket change.
Manager report.
Dana, you get to follow this. Where are you?
Hi. Which back door?
So Dana's been remarkable at transforming the park into what our original expectations of it, and he's still plugging away.
Well, what we're trying to do is we're down to building A-frames. We have one left over, which the cost is very minimum. There's 8 actual steel structures that the residents can't destroy if they get angry, if the weather came along. Which these are pretty much reusable material that we use there. So figure in 2008 structures that are permanent, but they're not technically permanent. They're not with a foundation. They're just on a pad. The good news to answer everybody is we are promoting people at the homeless camp to get out and go to work. We're getting more people in the workforce, and they have plans on leaving the workforce. Now with the veterans, they actually, when they go over to the VA, they have to pay rent also. So they become part of the community. They do not get free rent. So they've called me back and let me know that they'll never come back to the homeless camp, and they're just gonna move forward. So for the veterans, you know, they have a little step up, unfortunately. For the other people, I'm still working with them. Anybody that's come around, I mean, the gals are super. Some of the gals down there are very motivated to leave out of there. And there are some people that just don't have any education at all. And the unfortunate thing, they're gonna be there a while. So, we're getting everybody to work on the water there. There's only one water line, supplies only the showers that they're on the property. And out of 6 water lines, we've shut that off from the city, so we're down to very minimum water usage. The grounds are being, pretty well, we're getting close, maybe I think one more dumpster and Aaron will have his 40-foot setback. We started out with 11 Costco tents, 10 by 20. We're down to, we will have only 6. And at that point, when they happen to get destroyed or due to the weather or whatever reason, human ripping the tents up, they will not be replaced. So the residents understand that. They're trying to work with it. And most of the residents that pulled, I mean, these are the people wanting to see improvement. They're not wanting to live in a junkyard. They're actually cleaning up after themselves and making a go of it. Now, some of them are kind of like kids. You got to keep on reminding them, but they are trying. And, as we get this process done, where we get the A-frames done and the tents moved around, then I can kind of work with the people themselves and kind of get them to see what their needs are to get them into, housing on themselves where they can go out and get a job and actually become part of society. So that's about all I can report on. If you got any questions. Go ahead.
Dana, the one that we heard from, I believe it was, Sherry said there's somebody from the camp that's going down Hawthorne and swearing and making noise. Is there any way we can get them not to just stay off of Hawthorne?
That sounds like probably Rusty. And it's not Rusty.
No.
You didn't get first name?
No, I didn't I didn't even go near the.
Okay. He might not be in the camp any longer. The gentleman that's on, he left the camp willingly. He was a gentleman that took an axe to the inside of his residence and chopped it up. But he willingly left. He definitely needs more than what we can give him.
You want somebody to die over there, I don't know who it is.
Well, okay, so we have a whole bunch of visitors that come through there also. And I've taken a photo of everybody that comes through there as a visitor. And they have a number. If they don't have a number, I have it marked as a visitor. So, the police, if they have to respond to them, they at least have a photo of the gentleman. Everybody else has their name. I have a date of birth. So I have a minimum information, but there are cameras there and we can review the cameras. We can't control everybody that comes through there, especially the visitors. Now, I get told all the time that, I better watch my back from the visitors. They get angry with you. They say a lot of stupid stuff, but I just let it go in one ear and out the other because it's just simple talk. So I think some of these guys, here's the sad thing. So ADAPT comes out there on a Friday and wants to talk to anybody that has a mental illness. But let's say it's me that has a mental illness and I'm running up and down the streets. I have to go, sorry to use for an example, but I have to go to this lady and say, I need help, or they won't help her. Okay, and they will not reach out to these people. And they come every Friday, there's 10 of them. And they sit out the gate. And unless this person comes up to this other person, says, I need help, they won't help. It's like, so I can't force anybody to go talk to them. And the other results is there's been a small handful of people that if they take their medication, they're all right. But I haven't seen that in the camp. So, there's a little hostility going on because with the change, we've changed the admins. Danny's sitting behind you there, and I have Julie that she has a college degree. So with those two admins, they work very well. Danny takes the days and then Julie takes the nights, and Julie holds down a job also during the day. So we have 3 people on board. We have a gentleman that works with Danny. He's a sergeant of arms if there's an issue during the night. So we're not using the police to come out there every 5 minutes and waste their time. So we're trying to keep this within the camp, and there hasn't really been an issue that I see that has to call for police presence. There's been a few, but I have Kirk's number. I call Kirk up when he has a convenient time. He doesn't have to come rushing out. And we talk to the person we have an issue with, and it's pretty much resolved. So.
Well, the situation today is why I asked to have a fence put across that field. Keep that type of situation from coming up and down our streets, because it's gonna get better. They're gonna come out of the woodwork. They're coming off the freeway and they use Hawthorne Street as their main thoroughfare. I don't know where they come from, but they bring their stuff on their buggies and whatnot. And that's why I've asked, please put up a fence across that field on the
Well,
east side of the church, so they don't crawl over Chris's fence and destroy it, and across the inn. And the
Understandable. If you
street.
put up a fence, though, what do? They go around it. They'll find another way. It's kind of hard. I mean, if you can take a photo of them with your phone, you know, and if you compare it and let me see it, I can let you know if it's one of my residents. You know,
Spanier, I gave her a pretty accurate description, black and white, look at her black facial hair. Obviously, his mannerisms were, you know that he was past or something.
with these new telephones, though, I mean, it's so great. You just take it out, take a snapshot of the person.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that speaks volume. I mean, to try and describe somebody, I could say, well, here's an Oriental gal, you know, she's only 4 foot tall. I mean, now, with a photo, you have something to go on. I mean, my description could be 10 times worse than yours, or some, you know, you get 10 different people, and you get 10 different descriptions. I mean, you may get something close, but with a photo, you can't argue a photo. Right. Yeah, because I remember talking to you about your issue, and I mentioned, you know, if you get a camera, security camera or a photo, then we can go from there, and I can let you know if it's a residence or not.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's on the street. So you can
Right.
tell them not to do that.
If we
Yeah.
have someone else that needs to talk out there, they need to come up, because we can't hear on this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, hope I answered your questions. Any other questions for the council?
Thank you, Dana.
No?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Right, look. Is it in reference to this?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. It's more on the workforce housing side than it is a homeless side. I think, you know, I was born and raised in this community, and I live here and I've been here my whole life. And I think, one of the big things going on here is, this public perception and fact with regard to this workforce housing. And, there's a
Wait,
lot-
can you say your name first?
my name is Jacob Gilman. I'm a local real estate agent here in Sutherland. So there's a perception that the public has about this project, and there's a lot of conflicting information going on within social media and the news. And I understand that the city cannot police and monitor every bit of information that comes out. But with that news article that came out, they are quoting you, Mayor, and Pat Lynch, and saying certain things about it being an escrow and how they want to start infrastructure immediately and have it completed by the end of October, which gives this impression that this project is further along than a concept. So there's a lot of conflicting information, and I think in order to avoid a public uproar, so to speak, you know, an effort given to bridge the gap between that perception and what's actually going on may be helpful. And you know, the task force that was created, there was little bits of information about this task force, and the city has made comments about how they want citizens to be involved in this task force, but there was never any information about how to get involved in the task force, and if there are certain people that have skills or, you know, a desire to see this community thrive, that want to be included in this, in that task force and have a say, or at least, you know, be available to collect that information and spread accurate information. It seems like the city didn't give a whole lot of opportunity for people to be included in that task force, and almost like it was kind of cherry picked because there was no opportunity for people to you know, apply to be a part of that. So, you know, and the citizens that are immediately surrounding this project, you know, they are concerned with how this is going to affect them in their daily life, and, you know, the property values and that type of thing. And I understand there's only so much that the city can do, but there is a huge gap in the perception of this project and where it is and the actual fact. I understand you're in the environmental stage and the phase one environmental studies. I mean, so there's a lot of steps that come after that before a concept turns into an actual project.
Correct.
That news article really did no good with regards to informing people about this project because it gave a lot of misconceptions. So I understand the construction process and how everything works, but the citizens do not. So they are a bit confused and they feel like they're being left out, so to speak. And I understand that the city isn't quite to that point of notifying everybody because the property hasn't been acquired and it is just a concept. But there is a perception that the city is moving forward without informing people. So any efforts to bridge that gap, I think, would go a long ways, especially in a small town.
Thank you, very well said.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Well, yeah.
I would love
On this,
Wait till.
Chairman Meyer, I just wanted to echo what he said about being kind of a hand pick committee here. We were told to check on the city website and watch for the committee, the task force, we were to watch for that, and it would tell us how to apply. It's still under construction, still. This is the same website that the city attorney emailed me about in December saying, you need to check that website on your questions on Hastings Village because they're not going to answer your questions anymore in the city because it takes too much staff time.
The city website under construction?
No. A website for this committee.
Oh.
And we've only
Yeah,
had one
so-
meeting. We're
Yeah.
so early.
So then deadlines to apply for this task force were this, I believe it was the 6th of February. That was noted in the agenda that went out on the 7th of February. So it's not been available and open to everybody. It's been cherry picked. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
For what?
Letter.
Oh. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so, in follow-up to an issue that was raised at a previous council meeting, emails to the council, with the house on West Sixth Avenue. The initial complaint that, we received about the property was made during a public comment and then followed up with an email. We reviewed the email. It suggested the property in question was being used in violation of a home occupation. The home occupation regulations of the development code, staff reviewed that definition. We looked at in section 1.3 of the development code based on those facts. It did not appear that there is a home occupation activity occurring at that residence. There did not appear to be any home occupation being carried forward. So since they're not conducting a business at that residence, we didn't act on it. Nonetheless, we did take a look further at the development code just to see if there was any other areas of the code that might be implicated by the complaint. The only possible question that could arise is it relates to the development code is if it was being used as a boarding house, as the term is defined by section 1.3 of the code. The definition requires the use of a residence for lodging for compensation by at least 5 but not less 20 people in that building. And it's not a hotel. It's not been provided, or are we aware of any evidence that demonstrates the individuals residing on the property in question are providing compensation for lodging in a manner that would create a boarding house? And so without that evidence, it is not, it's not good use of city's limited staff time to pursue further investigation whether the residence is being used as a boarding house. finally, we want to point out, that the number of people living in a single family dwelling is not regulated by our development code. Instead, it's regulated by the Douglas County Building Department and their occupancy regulations. So if there is something in relation to the occupancy of that single family dwelling, then I would recommend they reach out to the Douglas County Building Department.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else from you? On to council comment. Remember, monthly meeting time is limited. Please ask questions or make statements that are likely to benefit the group. Individual comments and questions that can be added or handled on a one-on-one basis should be handled outside the meeting. Counselor Daigle.
No.
Counselor Smalley.
All been said.
Counselor Grousman.
I have nothing.
Counselor President Hamilton. Counselor Woods.
I just want to say we had an opportunity to visit the budget we have this weekend out of Fort Pond, and things that they're progressing very nicely. It was a nice visit out there.
And I have nothing either, except for, yeah, I have one. Coffee with the mayor, it is not happening in May. I will be out of town, so we'll resume in June. Purpose of public comment is to allow citizens to present information regarding items off the agenda. A time limit of 3 minutes per citizen shall apply. I have one for Karen Meyer.
Karen Meyer, I'm really disappointed in the determination that you've made. You and I, everybody up here knows what's going on in that house, and this, well, I'm done really talking to you guys. But this is what's happening in Sutherland. We have a group, we have a couple of buses every 3 months that come into a house on the corner of 6th and Grant and drop off non-speaking military-age men that live in the house anywhere between 8 and 20, live in the house at a time. They don't bother anyone. If I were going to cause trouble, I wouldn't bother anyone and bring attention to myself either. They might be very innocent. It might be that they're just working, and they get up at between, now it used to be 5 o'clock. Now it's between 3:30 and 4:30, I'm told. They get up, they make a lot of noise and wake everybody in the neighborhood, but they get up with their hard hats on and their logging boots, and they go to work or something somewhere. Come back about 3. If you're a homeowner, there are a lot of homeowners here tonight. They are worried about the value of their property. And if something like that happened to me, the value of my property would plummet. The value of your property would plummet. Try to sell your house if you have this going on right next door to you, and see how fast that takes down your property values. This is just BS. These people swore to uphold the law, and they don't. They swore to uphold federal law, state law, and city ordinances and codes, and they don't. The people, there was a lady here that was here, but she's here to live in a small town. We don't want to put up with big town BS. We live in a small town because we want to live in a small town atmosphere. We don't want this stuff. We don't want to be a sanctuary town. Put it on the agenda, put it on the vote. Let the citizens vote and see if we want to be a sanctuary city here. I've never seen a council like this.
Thank you. I uphold the law. Thank you.
You're not opposed to law.
Yeah.
You turn.